It's 4 o'clock. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Gaia Community. We are an Earth-based, pagan, Unitarian Universalist congregation meeting here pretty much every Sunday at 4 o'clock online on Zoom and on our YouTube channel when we record. We are recording today as a fairly important ritual. We will be making that available later. If you do not wish to be on the video, resulting video of ritual, please let me know and we will edit any appearance on there. If you are online, I don't think we have anyone online yet, but I will say if you want to turn your camera off and your audio off, that will help us not have to worry about you popping into video because of a stray noise. If you have an electronic device on you, please make it on silent for today. As I mentioned, my name's David, and I'll be your MC for today. Today is our first of two patron selection rituals. We at Gaia Community since 2003 have had an annual patron, and that means every year we go through a circuit of presentations and propositions from deities and powers, and then we end up choosing one that we work with for the course of a year. So this year you'll be hearing from the Temple of Isis, where Kitty is helping out, the space of the Egregore, where Devin is going to be presenting, and the Temple of Brigid, where Jamie is at. We're also assisted by Haley on tech, and Barbara will be, there you are. You were so separated from the kids, I was confused.
I'll be with them.
You're gonna be with them plenty, right? Barbara is going to take the kids up in a few minutes to Kids Space because they're gonna do something of their own related to what we're doing, and then they'll come back and join us again later. So, let's make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, great. So I want to light our chalice today, which is adapted from In This Sacred Space by Cheryl Block. This is a call and response chalice lighting, so you only have one line. Whenever I pause, you're going to say, in this sacred space. Easy, right? It's right there in the name. We gather together
in this sacred space.
Let us be still in the quiet.
In this sacred space.
Let our hearts open as a butterfly's wings.
In this sacred space.
Let the glow of this light shine within us.
In this sacred space.
Blessed be, our chalice is lit. And now I will let Barbara take over with these delightful children. If you want to clap them out, give them some guidance where they're going. We'll see them again later. You'll be back. We also want to welcome and thank our current annual patron, the Morrigan. Morrigan, seer, battle goddess, chooser and discerner, be with us today and aid us as we look forward to the future of Gaia Community. Hail Morrigan.
Hail Morrigan.
All right, so as I mentioned, this is the first of two patron selection rituals we'll be doing this year at Gaia Community. We did this since 2003. In 2003, we were introduced to an ancient Egyptian practice where temples in a city would put on basically a fundraiser for their temple. They would collect donations from the people of the city, visitors to the city, and whichever temple got the most donations was made the patron of that city for a time. And in exchange for that, the reciprocity segment of that is that that temple, by having the most donations, therefore also had the most responsibility to help people in need. So when this was a fundraiser for Gaia, we also collected items for harvesters. We still collect items for harvesters, but we don't do it as part of this actual process. What'll happen is you'll hear from 3 temples today, 3 more powers in 2 weeks. Then we'll put those rituals online. We'll do a ranked choice voting to decide which one of those 6 will end up being our next annual patron. Make sense? So we begin with a grounding, followed by a trance journey to co-create the Temple of Many Powers for our space. We will then visit the temples of today's patron candidates, hear their presentations, and you all will have a chance to ask questions of the candidates. After listening to their advocates, we'll return to this space. We'll hear from, or we'll be rejoined by the children. We'll conclude with our announcements, offering, and our standard closing. I'm going to lower the lights temporarily.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
But before we travel to the Temple of All Powers, I invite you to take this time to check in with yourself. You can begin with a deep breath. Inhale for a count of up to 4. Hold, out for 4, whatever's comfortable. As you continue breathing slowly and deeply, consider these things. How do I feel today? What values matter to me? What am I seeking in terms of spiritual kinship? What needs do I seek to have fulfilled by this community? Which values and works put forward by the powers do I think will best help Gaia Community become a place that will serve those needs? As you consider these points, know that your needs are valued, and this selection process has as its goal the meeting of the most spiritual needs for the most members. This process never has and never will require any member or attendee to adopt a personal patron relationship with any of the powers, either interested or elected. As with all of our rights, you are invited to participate at the level you are comfortable with. So, keeping your stewardship of yourself and your belief in the good of others forward in your mind, I invite you to settle into a comfortable position. I invite you to focus on the flame of the chalice, either with your eyes open or in your mind's eye. Breathe deeply and watch that single point of light as it moves and dances. Let it grow, filling all of your attention, becoming the single most important thing in this moment. Let it burn away any distractions or concerns, brightening and filling your awareness. Let yourself begin to sense the sacredness of the space around you and the inherent of all spaces upon the earth. In this place here, we will build a temple of our thoughts, intentions, imaginings, and our will. We will construct around us the temple of many powers, a place you may have visited before, or a place you may be visiting today for the first time. Allow your inner eye to see this temple taking shape all around us. Allow your inner ear to hear its sounds. We are building this temple together. You are invited to share your vision with the group. And we ask that if someone calls out some truth of the temple that they have perceived, you weave it into your own visualization, strengthening the co-created space around us. What do you see when you look at this temple that we are building? Candles. Stones piled up.
Greenery.
Greenery.
Windows high up in the walls.
High windows in the walls. Paintings, artwork. You may notice architecture, materials of construction, the layout, colors,
High vaulted ceilings.
high vaulted ceilings,
Soft spaces to rest and listen.
soft spaces to rest and to reflect and listen.
Embroidered trim.
A large room. What is here inside the temple?
Tinkling bells.
Temple bells,
Holy powered ceiling fans.
holy powered ceiling fans,
Tapestries on the walls.
tapestries on the walls. And there's subspaces off that large room where more focused attention can be brought.
Scrolls.
Scrolls. What detail do you notice? What expression of artistry?
Golden embroidery.
Golden embroidery,
Carvings.
carvings,
Carpets on the floors.
carpets on the floors, soften the sound. Statues, different powers from the ears.
Lanterns and torches.
Lanterns and torches. What do you see that lets you know this is a sacred space?
Holy symbols from many faiths.
Holy symbols from many faiths.
Elevated altars.
Elevated altars.
Acolytes meditating.
Acolytes and devotees meditating. See the variety of attendees to the Temple of Many Powers. All colors and genders, all ages and walks of life.
Is water.
Second.
Pools of water.
Pools of water. Thank you. What do you see that tells you there is power here, there is magic here, that the divine is here with us?
Fires.
Sacred fires,
Grottos with healing waters.
grottos of healing waters. Just thinking about the way that the altars and statues are lit does not quite all come from the light sources we can see.
Mists that hang around certain ports.
Mists that hang around in certain portions of the temple. Static energy. Feeling at the back of your neck. Something has happened or something is about to happen. What do you hear inside this temple?
Chanting.
Chanting.
Drum like a heartbeat.
Drum like a heartbeat.
Bells.
Bells again. Songs. Murmur of conversation.
Faint tunes played on old instruments.
Faint tunes played on old instruments. Hear the footsteps of everyone who's come and visited. What other sounds come to you? What devotions? What do you hear that lets you know others are here with us in this place?
Laying that someone went by.
Singing.
Singing. What do you hear that tells you this place is holy and sacred?
Sound of trickling water.
Sound of trickling water. The sound of the weight of the building itself, if that makes sense. That massive strength and steadiness of what we're building, where we're visiting. What do you feel standing inside this temple? What emotions come to you? Wonder,
Reverence.
reverence,
Compassion.
compassion, joy,
Connection.
connection,
Fulfillment.
fulfillment. Say it. Inspiration?
Oh, invitation.
Invitation. So I'm repeating so the mic will pick it up.
Oh, yeah.
By this shared construction, we establish our sacred space, our place of power and protection, our connection to the many worlds and many ways of worship. Blessed be. I'm going to raise one of the lights in the room, and then we'll visit the Temple of Isis.
Actually, if you could
You
keep
want it
them
off for
off,
yours?
it's much better this
All
way.
right, Isis wants it the way it is.
Yep. Welcome to the Temple of Isis. Queen of heaven and earth, ancient and beloved Aset, goddess of the throne, goddess of love and magic, the great sorceress who heals, lady of abundance, the goddess of 1,000 names. Today, we are blessed with a new statue of Our Lady to grace our temple. She has traveled from far off Egypt. Isis, I bless your statue with natron. May it wash away the dust and hardship of travel. Isis, I light these candles in honor of your presence in this temple. Okay. Isis, I offer you incense that the sweet smells surround you. Isis, I anoint your statue with sacred myrrh. Grace us with your presence today. Awake, awake, awake. Awake in peace, Lady of Peace. Rise thou in peace. Rise thou in beauty. Goddess of life, beautiful in heaven. O Goddess, daughter of Nuit, daughter of Geb, beloved of Isis, Goddess rich in names. All praise to you. All praise to you. Isis, I pour this wine in your cup Hail Isis. Hear the story of Isis. So after Thoth, the subtle and cunning moon had won 5 days of sunlight from his arrogant brother Ra, the sun, Ra agreed to allow Osiris, Isis, Seth, Nephthys, and Horus to be finally born. They were born full grown, having lived for ages inside the womb of their mother Nut, the sky goddess. The hidden gods decreed that Osiris, the firstborn, should be given the black lands of Egypt that lay on either side of the river Nile, and the 7 streams of water that fanned out in the shape of a lotus at the opening of the delta. To Seth was given all the red land as far as the eye could see. Isis took the hand of Osiris. She called him husband. He called her sister. She called herself the god's wife. Together they took what the land offered them and used it, the rich soil, the fertilizing waters, the seeds. They gathered the animals into herds. They tilled the soils and planted emmer, the pumpkin, the onion. They trained the grapevines to the trellises. The women of Kemet gathered at the edge of the river to watch the goddess Isis, her hands plucking reeds, weaving baskets to gather the fruits of the field. She taught them how to weave reed baskets, pluck cotton, spin and weave cloth, and plait hair. When work was done, Isis rattled the gourds and shook the sistrum. Osiris played and taught his people the songs of his mother, the music of heaven, on reed pipes, the drum and the lyre. Isis taught the women to dance. She gave them chants, hymns, and praises. She gave them the counting of the cycles of the moon, the knowledge of herbs and of their own bodies' cycles and times. The people of Isis and Osiris made children, and their villages grew strong. Osiris and Isis ferried up and down the Nile, teaching their people the holy, peaceful ways of communion with each other and with the divine. They gave them laws, the gift of Ma'at, the way of truth. Isis came to assist in the births of their children, bringing her herbs and medicines, using her magic to see their futures. Isis loved children, and they her. She raised her sister's child, Anubis, as her own. And then came that terrible day when Isis was away helping the women of Coptus birth children. Lonely Osiris threw a party. Seth came with 72 of his men and a beautiful gold chest. Whoever could fit in the chest could keep it. Well, of course, only Osiris could fit, for it had been made to his measurements. Osiris laid down in the chest, and Seth's 72 conspirators slammed the lid down on the king, nailed it shut, soldered the edges with lead, carried it out, killing anyone who opposed them, and threw the chest in the Nile, where it sank and was carried by the currents out to the sea. In Coptus, Anubis heard the howls of the dogs and intuited what had happened. Isis cut her braids, poured sand over her head, dressed herself in the black rags of mourning. And then she wandered, searching for Isis, up and down the Nile, and finally leaving Egypt. Everywhere she went, she asked the children if they had seen the coffin of Osiris, and the children pointed the way. Isis finally found the coffin bound up in a tamarisk tree. King Malkandor of Byblos had that tree cut down and turned it into a pillar of his palace. So Isis became a nursemaid to the son of Queen Astarte in Byblos. Isis sang songs to the queen's children and told them stories. And in secret, she taught them spells for curing the stings of bees and hypnotizing snakes and catching innumerable fish in their small nets. Eventually, Isis convinced the king to cut down his pillar, and there she found the coffin of Isis inside it. Isis took the coffin back to Egypt, and there she was able to use her magic and her songs of love and made a new fate for Osiris. Rise up, seed of creation, spark of life. Rise up, phallus of Osiris. Rise up and enter Isis. An entire night passed as she lay with him, whispering endlessly, love, light, life, power, might, blessed be thee. And at last, exhausted, the goddess fell asleep upon the chest of Osiris. And when she awoke in the morning, she knew she was pregnant. I will weep no more. I carry the seed of Osiris. I will birth a god, the child who avenges his father and makes good the sorrows of his mother. And so it came to pass that Isis birthed Horus. Isis had the chest containing the body of Osiris, hid it in the Nile marshes. But Seth found the chest again, and this time tore the body of Osiris into 14 pieces and scattered them up and down the country. Isis, helped by Thoth, Anubis, and Horus, searched for and found the pieces of Osiris, put him back together, fanned his dead body with her wings, and revived him to become the ruler of eternity, sitting in the underworld where he judges the souls of the dead. And it is said that everywhere Isis found a piece of Osiris, there is a temple in her name. "3,000 years after the first mention of her name, in the first dynasty of Egypt, Isis had become the goddess of 10,000 names, worshipped across the Roman Empire, from Egypt all the way north to London, west to Spain, and east to Asia. In Rome, the Isis cult was also universal, since it could be practiced by both men and women equally, also regardless of their status and class, which was a departure from usual Roman religious tenets, and is even more important to us today. As worship of Isis spread, the goddess's responsibilities expanded as well. In addition to her traditional roles as wife, mother, magician, healer, and protector of the dead, Isis was worshipped as the goddess of good fortune, the sea, and travel. Today, we will work with one of the symbols of Isis. This is the Ankh. It is seen as the knot of life. Some say it represents an umbilical cord. It symbolizes the life-giving force of creative power. And while the Ankh is rightfully a symbol of every deity, it's also appropriate to Isis. On an earthly level, Isis is the great divine mother, the genitrix of all life on earth. Isis is intimately connected with the fields that bring forth food, the waters that nourish and regenerate the land, and the life-giving air that fills our lungs. So for our temple activity today, you will need a piece of paper with an Ankh on it, which David is bringing around, and a marker or markers in the colors you choose. And then you'll want to set these items either on your lap or somewhere they're easily accessible. And I am going to sit. So I invite you to let your eyes close for a moment and your breath deepen. You may listen to the sound of the drum or perhaps just to your breathing. Breathe in and out, relaxing your body and your senses. I invite you to think about something that wants to be born or that wants to be reborn in your life. It could be in a creative sense, or it could be in a physical sense, such as in terms of health, or something you want to do with movement. It could be a new relationship, or one that needs creative energy to strengthen. It could be a new project that needs to be created in service to yourself, to your community, or even to humanity. It could be just a habit that is due for resurrection, or a new habit to develop. Think about what wants to be born in you at this time. This new life being born in whatever form will enrich your life, bringing you more fullness and fulfillment and wholeness. What is it that needs to be born in you? The Ankh is the key of life. So I invite you to take the Ankh paper and use the looped hook at the top of the Ankh as your sacred frame. And use your markers to draw or write in the loop that which is wanting to be born or reborn in you. The loop of the Ankh becomes the psychic container for this work. It becomes the womb of Isis, a place to incubate your dreams. It will co-create with you the unfoldment of your dreams. What you put there might be very detailed or very simple. If there are things that will influence this creation, you might want to add those outside the main loop. And you may color the Ankh itself with designs or patterns that would strengthen your creation. And keeping in mind that our time here is short, when you have finished enough writing or drawing for the present moment, I invite you to come forward to the altar of Isis. First, dip your hands in the natron water here, in the green snake bowl to purify them and dry them off with the towel. And then come to the main altar and select an Ankh necklace to hold close to you that which is being born in your heart. You may take some oil and anoint your Ankh with it, and then join me in this chant. Dua Aset Nebet Ankh. Praise to Isis, Lady of Life, further activating your dream and your energy to bring your creation to fruition. Dua Asad Nebadak. 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 So this is natron water, purified water, to purify yourself. Dua Asad Nebadak. 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 Dua Asednebedong. Asednebedong. Dua. 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 Asednebedong. Praise to Isis, Lady of Life. Thank you for visiting our temple today. If you need to stop by later, you are welcome. May you bring forth all of your dreams. Hail Isis.
If you have questions for the Temple of Isis, now would be a great time to ask them. I have a mic that I will loan you for that purpose.
Okay, we heard all these stories, and those were great. That were great story. What exactly would ISIS do for Gaia Community?
So Isis is one of those universal goddesses. So she welcomes all. I think it would help Gaia Community be more well known as the welcoming place that it is. We have talked at times of how children and families are important to Gaia Community and have been in the past for Gaia Community's growth. And so I think with Isis as our patron, she would help encourage that. She is a goddess of magic as well, and so there is lots of spell work to explore. She is strong and has been through much hardship, and so she can be a support for all of the people of Gaia who would call upon her help. So I think it would be a really good time for her to join us.
What would Isis expect from us in return?
Well, many of our rituals deal with magic, so she would want to be called upon when her presence is desired. She likes candles and flowers, and libations of wine. She is a goddess of abundance, so if you have extra abundance, she would want you to share it with others.
Are there any other questions for the Temple of Isis?
Gaia Community tries to do a lot with social justice. What would a social justice project look like if ISIS was our patron?
Well, I think ISIS welcomes all. And so I think she would want Gaia Community to be helping people who are less fortunate or who are sometimes pushed to the margins of society, perhaps because of who they are or their current situation. And so, I think Isis and her husband Osiris strive to make the world a better place. And social justice projects that would help do that would be something she would be pleased with.
Any other questions for the Temple of Isis? Then we thank our first temple, and we move within the Temple of Many Powers now to the model space of the Egregore. And I am going to turn the lights up because clarity will assist.
Yes. Tell me about it. You good? Okay. Hello, and welcome to the pre-charrette proposal meeting of Gaia Community Egregore construction project for fiscal year 24-25. Unlike other temples, I don't have a patronic spirit to welcome today because obviously we haven't constructed it yet. As part of that process, while I'm presenting here with the cards that David is about to pass out, if you could please fill out what you want Gaia Community to do over the next year as a stakeholder. This can be either a paragraph, a simple phrase, a bind rune, a glyph. Yes?
One card or maybe?
One card. I will only have so much space on the paper I use for this. You know, the design process cannot include everything under the sun. There's only so much time. But yeah, feel free to write a paragraph, a simple sentence, a bind rune, a glyph, a sigil, or another way of encoding an intention. I just need it to be a way that I could capture it and reproduce it, either via text or picture. If you're seeing this online, while voting is still open, please send me a short message via Facebook, Discord, or email. My email will hopefully be attached to this recording. So, I give you a little bit of history. A while ago, but not too long ago, a tired soul, maybe working on a college thesis for classical studies, maybe recovering from a late night with a friend or friends, maybe recovering from a restless night with kids, maybe from a drive that was honestly just too long. They poured themselves a cup of coffee, black tea, an invigorating soda, and whispered thanks. And thus sprang forth Lady Caffeina. A while ago, but within living memory, an immigrant raised funds to build a copper colossus to ward off ancient pomp. And to this day, and welcomed the wretched and the tempest tossed. And to this day, we try to honor Lady Liberty. A while ago, but longer ago than living memory, some well-educated and at the time not so old white men living in land that still bore many of the names of people who had been there before sought to legitimize their claim of independence from the lands of their forefathers. And in their papers of protest, their art, in the name of the very capital in which they built, they invoked Columbia, the spirit of the continent. A while ago, but well documented and recently, we invoked for a particular purpose a spirit who was a jack of all trades. To at first help us move into a place on truce, and then help us move out. A while ago, but before my time, we were concerned that stuff would move in and out of our closet without our permission. So we made a small spirit of our place to watch over our stuff. So today, I ask you to consider that instead of finding a good fit from the past to work around for a year, let us spend a year embedding our energies into that which is tailored to us. Let us take our own measurements and cut from our own cloth rather than try to find the best fit off the rack. Let us be the ones that we are waiting for. So I have a diagram that will be up there shortly. I don't have all the connecting lines between the things on the diagram. So this is modeled after a full wave rectifier. Y'all don't really need to know what that is. Long story short, it takes AC power and converts it to DC, so you can do work. You have, in this case, 5 circles of overlapping energies. We would probably have more because we have more people than that. And from there, you would move it through a transformer into a containment device that, for our patron welcome ritual, it would be more of a patron creation ritual, where we would take the intentions that you're writing now, take intentions of other people, take intentions that we all have, all things that we need, all ways that we can help each other, ways that we can care for the earth and each other, and build them into a spirit that every week we would help to energize, every week we would commune with, every week we would think, how is this helping us? How is the things that we have done helping each other? And at the end of the year, we would then decide what to do with the spirit. And hopefully by then we will have figured out its name. But I make no guarantees. We're all making this up as we go along. So at this point, I asked, do you have any questions? This is a radically different concept, and I'm perfectly willing to take some time.
Start with a question that I know you spent a lot of time thinking about, but not everyone here is going to be familiar with. Could you
Right.
talk a little bit more about what an egregore is?
An egregore is a created spirit. It is the spiritual equivalent of a corporation, but not like in a bad way. It is, instead of saying, finding a tree out in the wild and giving it water and nurturing it and then plucking the fruit from it, instead, you take a seed, you plant it in hydroponics, you give it your own sunlight, you give it its own water, and you nurture it from there. It's the spiritual equivalent of growing hydroponically. Maybe the best way to put it.
So would this process at all include trying to suss out from the land where we are?
Yes.
What, I don't know, what spirits or entities might already live there?
Yeah, I mean, in pre-Christian spirituality, just in general, while gods were important, most of your day-to-day interactions were with that of the local spirits, or with that of household spirits, or with that of the land spirits, or with that of your ancestor spirits. So what I'm proposing is that we create an egregore that kind of fills that need. That lets it be the local spirit of just here, the local spirit of now, the spirit that is in contact with where we are.
It's like back in like the Hebrews, they had tokens, and they would like. It's kind of like the tulpas.
I'm totally unfamiliar with that concept.
So in old Hebrew times, they would have a group of seers and witches, and they would get a bottle, and they would energize the bottle and create their own deity, basically.
Yeah, similar concept.
Yeah.
How would this help us to attract more people who wish to become members?
Well, you see, there is a lot of people who are having to honestly look themselves in the mirror and figure out what they really want. There are a lot of people who have societal expectations thrust upon them, and then they realize, no, that's not me. And they look in the mirror and they go, no, me. This is me because I really should have short hair and present as a different gender than I was assigned. This is really me and not the religion that was imposed on me. This is me and not the philosophy I grew up with. This, in many ways, would be very much a spirit in transition. Does that answer your question? Yes, it does. Okay.
Pulling from literature, after reading 6 Characters in Search of an Author, what ideas do you have for the end of the year for making sure that this is Not simply cut loose with unfinished, kind of in the ether.
That really depends on how people respond to it during the year. I mean, if we work on it and we get a whole bunch of weird omens from it, we get a whole bunch of things that, no, really, this is not our jam, then we dismiss it. We collect it up, we say, thank you much, your time has passed. If we really like this thing, maybe we keep it around. If one or two people really like this thing, maybe they take it home. But it's something that would, of course, if we're creating it via consensus, via combined energy, then we would have to decide at the end what we do with it. Free small god to get home. No, 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 no. We couldn't just leave it abandoned. That's the way you get, that's the way you get, yes.
Oh, I know. Oh, you were saying somebody could take it home with them.
Well, yeah, somebody from our group could take it home.
We've written down things that you've not yet seen. And of course, we have finite time today.
Right.
What is our next step for your temple, for your space today?
Well, if this wins, or if we simply say, this doesn't win the patron, but we'd like to do the ritual anyway, then I take, and whoever decides to join with me in the ritual takes these intentions. We will inscribe it onto a fixed medium of some type to be determined, and then figure out some vessel to hold this thing as a fetter. So it's like the spirit we create is not going to live in the thing, but it's something that we use to interact with the thing.
So do you want these to become part of the video so that they are sort of informed what you might be getting yourself into? Or
I
you
would just take
read
them. I will take them home. It's my intention.
Okay.
So, and if nothing ever happens to these things, then I just burn them.
I volunteered beyond that ritual.
You don't want to give me the microphone.
Yeah.
So like, in my previous temple, right, they did a lot of the bottle. So like in my previous temple, they did a lot of the bottle and like tulpa type things. So if you would want any assistance with that, I would be glad to help.
I would ask for assistance from anyone in the community. This is a community project. To include our tech support, if they so choose.
Yeah.
Any other?
I was just going to say one modern one that you missed that has come out recently is the deity of college students up late working on their research papers, and that is Bullshiticus, Dionysus' cousin, who sits on his golden futon.
Oh. Caffeina, Bolshiticus, they talk.
They go to the same class.
Yeah. One sits in the front, one sits in the back.
Yeah.
Flying spaghetti monster.
Right, that's another good example of an egregore that was made in protest.
In Kansas.
Because of Kansas. Was it actually in Kansas? I forget. But yeah, it was definitely because of the Kansas School Board during a previous administration.
And I apologize, I'm that person because I'm aware of tulpas as well. I didn't speak it out loud. They're not Jewish, they're Tibetan Buddhism. The Jewish one that you might be thinking of would be a golem.
Yeah.
Sorry, that just sounded off to me.
Yeah.
What?
We like to be correct when we can.
Yes.
That's a damn Scorpio in me.
So, if there are not any further questions, if I could please have the cards. Now, I do notice that this did not light.
Wasn't sure if you were done.
So let me help you with that.
I don't know anything.
I mean, it lit, but didn't stay lit.
Writing utensils back, David?
And it smells
We
wonderful.
can worry about them
So,
later.
Yeah.
I don't know what to write down, so I didn't write
No worries.
anything.
Okay.
Do you need fire?
I'll take yours now.
Oh, okay.
You do.
And I mean, you have to be really, really careful with this kind of stuff in the digital age because Slender Man was a contest on the internet and now he is out there because so many people believe in him.
I mean,
That's what I was going to.
okay, so last little bit. There was no documented myth of Sasquatch, of Bigfoot, of anything like that before European colonization. And yet, it seems to be all around us now. So that is almost essentially another egregore that may be built up of a bunch of other pieces of spirit running around. But yeah, we as humans, we as myth makers, we as rationalizing beings, do these things all the time. Maybe let's do it with intention for once. Thank you.
Thank you to the model space of the Egregore. So now we turn to the Temple of Brigid, our final contender for today, who does need the mic.
Holy water, sacred flame, Brigid, we invoke your name. Bless my hands, my head, my heart, source of healing, song and art. Brigid, I offer you sweet whiskey, and a sweet cookie, and ask that you join us here today. Hail Brigid. Hail Brigid. So many of you already know Brigid. She's been our patron twice, and she's been our friend for many years. But for those of you who maybe need a reminder or haven't heard of her before, Brigid is a Celtic power with dominion over the forge, the hearth, and the well. She brings inspiration, warmth, and healing. Her influence in the past has brought us new members and given us very creative years. One year we created her cloak of healing. And she can help us with so many things. One of the things that she can do is help us transform grief and sadness to a force we can use to bring good things to ourselves and our community. I think that we would be inspired to make more things. I think that we would be inspired to do social projects that are part of things like healing, like Doctors Without Borders, or creating things. So that would be maybe supporting an art teacher at a local school who needs more supplies. And of course, we would want to warm our personal hearth and our community hearth so that more people, more like-minded people, can find a home here and find warmth at our hearth. But what I want to do with you folks today, what I want to do with Brigid today, is have an opportunity to bring new energy to any ritual tools that you may have brought with you today. If you didn't, that's okay. I also have some small candles that you can light at the forge, which I'm going to light here in a moment. And then you can take it home and set it next to a tool that you would like to recharge from Brigid's forge. So, Brigid, exalted one, goddess of fire and light, patron of poets, smiths, and healers, I beseech you. Brigid, inspiration you bring when you are near, you whose fire lights the smithy where our tools are forged and our hearth fire where we seek warmth. By your light and radiance, many are healed. Brigid, daughter of Dagda, lend us some of your fire and light. Share with us your radiance. Descend on us as you bless this fire to rekindle our tools at your forge. So I invite you to come forward. If you've brought a tool to recharge, you can set it near the forge, or you can, I have some matches here so that you can more safely light a tea light at the forge, which I have upside down. I will pick those up later. Phones are magical tools too.
Very. And somehow we convinced rocks to think for us.
It's going to stay. You can do, if you have something that you would like to light a candle for, and you can take a match here to make it safer if you want, or you can tempt death. Just set it back down. Oh, it's going out. Tea lights are like that. You should be able to recycle that match. One more time. Okay, so to charge these, I'm going to teach you a chant and we will sing it. Now this is Kitty's chant, but I did change one line just because I'm that way. So the words are, come to the forge, creating, burning, come to the hearth, transforming, learning, come to the well, inspiring, healing, come to the well and come home. And it sounds like this. Come to the forge, creating, burning. Come to the hearth, transforming, learning. Come to the well, inspiring, healing. Come to the well and come home. So I'll sing the line and you sing it back to me. Come to the forge, creating, burning. Come to the forge, creating, burning. Come to the hearth, transforming, learning. Come to the hearth, transforming, learning. Come to the well, inspiring, healing. Come to the well, inspiring, healing. Come to the well and come home. Come to the well and come home. Okay, so we'll put it all together. Come to the forge, creating, burning. Come to the hearth, transforming, learning. Come to the well, inspiring, healing. Come to the well and come home. Come to the forge, creating, burning. Come to the hearth, transforming, learning. Come to the well, inspiring, healing. Come to the well and come home. Come to the forge, creating, burning. Come to the hearth, transforming, learning. Come to the well, inspiring, healing. Come to the well and come home. Come to the forge, creating, burning. Come to the hearth, transforming, learning. Come to the well, inspiring, healing. Come to the well and come home. Come to the forge, creating, burning. Come to the hearth, transforming, learning. Come to the well, inspiring, healing. Come to the well and come home. Come to the forge, creating, burning. Come to the hearth, transforming, learning. Come to the well, inspiring, healing. Come to the well and come home. With this energy and the energy of the forge, we charge these tools and these candles that we will use to charge tools with all the energy of Brigid's forge. So mote it be. So mote it be. Now I invite you to, the word I'm looking for, collect. I invite you to collect your tools or your candles and also take a snickerdoodle. Unless you are gluten intolerant, in which case you should not take a snickerdoodle. It's warm. Oh, yeah.
There's the smug police.
Safety first.
Everyone's mouth's full of snickerdoodles. That's a good
Twice.
question. Brigid's been patron of the community twice before as an annual patron.
Yes.
So with that in mind, you talked a little bit about social justice, and I'm going to echo Erin's question from earlier. What would new and interesting or timely social justice projects with Brigid look like?
Well, I already suggested Doctors Without Borders. The great thing about Brigid is that she is far-reaching and covers a lot of different things. So there's a lot of different social justice projects that we could do. I think that she'd like almost any ideas that we have. She'd love this water bottle holder idea because it's creative. And when we make scarves and hats and mittens in the wintertime, that's a great project. I should have thought more about more of them, but those are the ones that come to mind at the top of my mind.
Other questions?
Okay, asking the required, what does Bridget want from us?
Well, she wants us to honor our creativity. She wants us to call on her to be the inspiration at rituals, which is pretty much all rituals. She wants us to contribute to healing physical and psychological and emotional harm that either we have on ourselves or for other people. And she wants us to welcome anyone to our hearth.
Other questions?
Do you remember what those years were and whether we're facing similar challenges socially now?
Okay, well, the first one was 2008, and if memory serves, the other one was 2014.
So 8 was definitely the year of financial crisis.
Yes.
Everything is crashing and falling around us. Yeah.
Yeah, 2008 was and 2008 was also an election year. Although 2014 wasn't. It was a midterm election, so that says something. Let's see.
Yeah, I can't remember if there was a theme behind what led Brigid to win in 14
I'm not sure.
specifically.
That was one of the years that we did God Auction at Conover Hall at All Souls. And I was scribing for Hermes, so I don't remember everything that happened at that God Auction.
I was only partly there.
And I wasn't at the 2008 God Auction. It's before I joined the community, but I remember the farewell ritual for Brigid.
Oh, so you arrived at Gaia Community.
Yes, so that's one of the reasons why I feel like she brings people to us. I joined, and my wife joined, and I want to say that's when Rosemary joined that year. And Devin was asking everybody who would listen whether or not they wanted to be a member or possibly join ritual teams. And then in 2014 is when Matt joined us. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong about that. That could have been Danu's year that he joined us. But I just remember those as happy years. Very much so.
I was thinking about the myths about keening and grief and transforming that, and we're still on the back end of COVID here.
Yes.
It ain't over.
And in a very scary election year.
Yeah. If things go south, she can help us through that. To transform our grief to force that we can use to make things as well as possible, even under what could be a very, very scary time for our country. Without me saying anything about any particular politicians, because I don't do that when I'm representing the community. Although I'm not really representing the community right now, I'm representing Brigid, so never mind.
It's still good form.
I mean, as ISIS's representative, I would want to say that ISIS would have similar strength and power. We've never had ISIS as our patron, so I can't promise a year like that. But many of the things that Brigid is known for, I mean, Isis has dealt with grief and rebirth, and she has incredible power and became a Western world goddess during the Roman Empire. So I guess I would really encourage you to consider her as well. Give Isis a chance.
I guess I'm going to stump speech for ISIS.
Or we, can I, yeah, I'd like to thank Brigid before we start doing that.
Denominational time after Brigid's.
Okay. No, you're fine. I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry.
Are there any
You're all
more
good. We're
questions
flying,
for Brigid's
flying
Temple?
loose today. Yes, are there other questions or comments for Brigid's Temple herself?
Okay.
Back to you, sorry.
It's okay. Brigid, Goddess of Fire and Light, thank you for your presence today and your aid in rekindling our tools at your forge. Hail and well met, Brigid. Hail, Brigid. Would anybody like to? Oh, good. No, they're from Hy-Vee.
No, there were supposed to be hand forged cookies, but they didn't work out today. So you get second best, which is still pretty good unless you're gluten intolerant. Sorry. Now is a time when if people in the audience or temples want to make one final comment, please do. Then we will have KidSpace come down and show us.
I've forgotten the format of these, so.
This is very loose. Sorry. Do this into the mic. This is very loose, very informal. Basically, if you were here when we used to do God Auction, we did a very interactive sort of, the temples are chatting back and forth and talking trash back and forth sometimes and reacting to what the other temple is saying and all this business. When we stopped doing that format and the fundraiser format, it became a little more, here's this one, here's this one, here's this one. But we like to keep a little bit of fluidity at the end. So.
Well, I'm sorry I stepped on Isis this time, because I didn't know we had this thing. No, you're right. Yeah. Oh, Bridget's time.
Realize it's pretty
I just want to back Isis, and the main reason is both she and Bridget are pretty much the same, but Isis loves and adores children, and we've been wanting to grow kids space for the longest time, and that might be the way to help if we have a deity that loves and helps with children.
Other people or temples who want to comment?
I find myself unexpectedly warming to the idea of the egregore. I was at first, but you know, I'm your original DIY gal and always have been. And it seems like right now we need the creativity of figuring some shit out on our own and how to do it.
Oh, no, I'm
You got your 30 seconds in earlier.
oh, do we each get 30 seconds?
Again, it's free flowing. We have some time. KidSpace was begging me to actually give them more time to finish whatever they're doing up there. So they're not in a rush to come back down here and finish. They're deeply working on something, which we'll see shortly. And of course, we'll have another of these in 2 weeks. You'll see 3 more powers come then, and so. We do. I do not know how to say one of them. Because it is a language I am not familiar with, but fortunately, there are people here who are.
It's the Fool and Rhiannon and
Rhiannon. Evlukesh Kalavara, who is Hindu? Buddhist. Thank you. A Bodhisattva, yes. Awesome.
gender fluid, it appears.
Yes.
Very definitely.
Yep.
Very definitely gender fluid.
Yep. So weeks we'll hear from them. We'll get all these online, and then you can. So you're not. You don't have to try to make a decision just between these 3. We're going to make it much harder. Next week is our summer solstice ritual. Correct.
I really like that Egregore.
You want to talk about it further? I know you talked a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I really like the Egregore idea because, like, I mean, it's how should I phrase it? More personal. Because, like, we could put it towards all our own personal wantings towards, instead of diminishing certain parts of what we want for other parts. Because not all deities do everything you want. So that's why I think it'd be really good.
I enjoyed hearing from all three of you. I thought you presented very well, and it was great. I am eager to see because I really don't know between you three. Yeah. So that'll be great. I can see any of you being a good choice.
Let me just make a small case that what is not, no. It is very much in human nature for us to create egregores. Hence why we have kid space. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy Father's Day.
And to you. So I guess what I wanted to say, and take this for what it is, it was a very interesting experience working with Isis this time, and I really have the sense that she wants to be here and be our patron. And I have worked with other deities in the past and never quite felt the push that I felt this time. So for whatever that's worth,
Your statue came in time.
I know. I mean, the number of things that were serendipitous that happened is like pretty amazing. And yeah, she wasn't to appear until Monday. That's what the shipping people said. And Friday they said she'll be here today. It's like, thank you. So anyway, I get tingles just thinking about it.
Magical. Anyone else?
I'm trying to stay unbiased because Brigid was the first deity to reach out to me, and so I'm trying to stay unbiased. Yeah, the thing that sticks out to me though is there is a big difference in this is kind of piggybacking off of what Robert said. There's a big difference in where our culture is now. It doesn't look like anything that's been in existence before. That is kind of an argument for an egregore, because fitting into an agricultural model or an ancient model or something that's different from now, we may be able to cover more bases in that way, by making sure, oh yeah, these folks didn't used to have to deal with technology. We have technology now. That's a whole other animal, that sort of thing.
Used to be we could only get one harvest a year, and
Yeah,
now
we have multiple.
like vertical gardening, you can have a harvest continuously.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That is something.
All right. Anyone else want to make some final comments before we go summon Kid Space and see what they've done? All right. Would you mind? Is it that way I can get some of the announcements and some of that business done well?
I'm also thinking that we can put our platforms online.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Stumping through Gaia's social media is a time-honored tradition of God Auction.
And so is trash talking.
And sometimes the trash talking goes online too, a little bit. Just, just as.
I still say my greatest accomplishment was the year I made all the campaign posters for Now Helena.
All right, so as we mentioned, next week is summer solstice. It is here, correct?
Yes, and it's inside.
It's just going to light. I just saw a bunch of faces that aren't on camera light up.
I think it's. I think it's going to be somewhat intergenerational. Is the thought? Though I told them that I would be there, so they could, if we need kid space, we can have kid space as well. But they're working on it. I forget who's working on it. Barbara and you are working on it. Oh, well, I shouldn't talk. Here, you talk.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun planned for you because we have been playing with fun in rituals. And what? It is
No.
not a potluck. Please don't bring your stuff. And if you come early for a craft circle, there is a craft circle. We'll be working on those water bottle holders. Yeah, the water bottle holders. Social Justice has launched a project in which when you're driving around, you take bottles of water, disposable bottles of water, and hand them to people you see that are in need on the side of the road, which should be pretty easy if you're driving and you see someone walking in this summer. They
Yeah.
probably need water. And also, with an emphasis on, definitely helping the houseless and people who are holding signs and such. And asking them if they would like a sling water bottle holder so they don't have to remember to carry around their water bottle. And it can just stay with them, so it's not another thing. So we'll be making those, and that will be in the kid space room at 2. Yes.
I will be at the kids' space at 2. I will bring materials to show a non-crocheted or knitted way of making a water bottle holder.
You have materials?
Just a few. Just a few. It'll be based on a ring of some sort, and then macrameing alternating square knots. It'll go pretty quick. I'll have to create one first.
I have faith in you.
Oh, I say you're saying that she don't have materials.
No, it's entirely ironic.
Everybody here knows this.
Susie's house is half materials by weight, including the house.
Are we even sure Susie isn't a pile of materials?
I wasn't gonna be that what do you call it? Nosy. Aha.
Heralds of the Storm.
Herald of children. If the audio on the video didn't pick that up, we just heard shrieking children running down the hall.
Oh, thank you. I see. Well, we have, Storm, you'll probably have to stand up. So the children have been working. A couple of weeks ago, they made their own egregore. You may have seen them. And this week, each of them made a goddess. You need to come over here with me.
We need to explain what it is.
Okay. I'll be with you.
Mom, do you want me to stay here?
Do one at a time or 2 at a time here?
It's whatever works for them. Only one person can talk at once.
Okay, one at a time. You want to be first?
Okay.
Also born first.
Can we look at Haley over there?
Right here? There you are.
Yeah. Who did you make? Do you remember her name?
You want to tell me?
If you don't remember, that's okay. I'll say it.
Okay. You want to tell me? This is Brigid. Awesome. Can you tell me about Brigid?
She likes to ride ponies.
Yeah, ride ponies. Okay.
And she likes fire.
Yes.
And
Yes.
she likes to drink beer.
Yes.
And she likes pet snakes.
Awesome. So likes to ride ponies.
And
Like-
likes to cut down trees
Okay.
and collect leaves.
Trees and leaves. Okay, good.
And she likes to jar up stuff.
Oh, put things in jars. Yes.
And you have brought a well and a fire with you in your bag, along with a horse.
And the well is for making beer.
Oh, okay. That's where you get the water for it, huh?
So it's for making beer. Beautiful.
And then
Wonderful.
the fire is to help to make the beer.
Okay.
To make stuff. Very good.
Yes. Good. Who do you have?
Ah,
Can you sit down?
it's coming off! Can you
Oh,
please
dear.
do that?
I-
Help.
We're just going to have to hold it for now. We're done with gluing. There we go. Do you remember her name? Do you remember her name, Zaylin?
Nope.
I didn't think so. Isis is her name.
So you made Isis, okay.
Can you turn around and show Haley? Isis? Kitty Isis. Turn around and show Miss Kitty Isis.
It has a little owl, if you didn't know that.
Okay, there we go.
Kind of like a hawk.
Now I'm gonna explain it, even these, but first. She likes to wear hats and she likes owls and can you please hold this?
She is heavy too, isn't she? Ah, yes. Your burger dropped out.
And she likes burgers in a bag with a face on it.
All right.
Do you remember what the name of your burger is?
Bags with tiny unicorns inside. There is actually a tiny unicorn inside. And she likes little canes things with pom-poms inside.
Okay.
Do you remember what the name of your burger is? I told it to you. Do you remember? I don't. It's an Ankh burger. It's made with two symbols of the Ankh glued together.
And I colored in the inside. And also, wanna know what the bag is called? It's called a bag burger. It's called a bag burger bag. It's a bag burger bag.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, girls. We had fun.
My burger fell out the bag again.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kidspace.
So if the girls and Barbara, if you would like to get an Ankh necklace at some point, feel free to pick. There's a couple that are shorter. They're different lengths.
Do you girls want a necklace?
Yes.
Come pick one.
You said the magic word, necklace. Necklace? Oh, okay, I'm holding Brigid and Isis, okay, I got 'em. Being a mother of gods.
Yeah. You pick what color you want.
They can.
Also, girls, if you would like cookies, there are cookies over here. These are Brigid's cookies. They're snickerdoodles.
Permission.
These are snickerdoodles. Wait, can we have napkins to put these on?
Sorry, I didn't bring any napkins.
Nope, she's got it.
I believe in their ability to eat cookies.
Yeah.
So a couple other announcements. Like I said, on 6/30, which is in 2 weeks, we'll do the other half of the patron selection mini rituals. And then on 7/7, July 7th, is a Bardic Circle. So if you're feeling creative, please come then. The theme for that Bardic Circle will be patriotic or folk music things that are not nationalistic sort of things, because it is the weekend of 4th of July, so we're trying to thread that needle. But if you have something you want to bring, doesn't fit the theme, we don't care. If you don't have anything to bring, we need an audience. Still come. The last thing I want to mention is on 7/21, July 21st, which is a certain number of weeks away from now that I haven't calculated out, we will not be here that week. Many Gaians, most of the ritualists will be out at Camp Gaia, which is Gaia with an E, space at Temples of Pan Sophia Festival. Lots of local groups are presenting out there. Gaia is presenting several things out there because we are so diverse and so blessed with creativity and hardworking people who are willing to go out in July and present to the community and do all these things. So if you want to come to that, please.
There's flyers.
There's flyers over there. We will put it on our social media. You can register for that. Go out there, hang out with us. But don't come here because you'll be kind of disappointed. It'll be really quiet.
Also, this Saturday is a volunteer day at Elmwood Cemetery. It starts at 9. So join fellow Gaians.
Yep, if you haven't been around long enough, this is actually from a prior Gaia annual patron. One year we worked with the Beloved Dead, and we partnered up, starting then we partnered up with Elmwood Historic Cemetery in the northeast part of KC-Mo, which has graves dating back to the Civil War. And once a month, more or less, they get volunteer day out there to help clean up. They do different projects. Sometimes they're getting ready for something. Sometimes they're picking up after the last windstorm. So we go out there when we can. We bring a little squad of Gaians out to help them out, and they're very, very greatly appreciated. So
It's a very, very pretty cemetery.
it is very pretty. It's fast. They have a little Jewish quarter. They have.
Jewish quarter. I missed that one last time.
Yep, I'll show you next time we're both out there.
It's a very cool cemetery. One time I went out, I ended up being the only Gaian, but I enjoyed myself. It was very cool. We had one guy from the cemetery who'd been volunteering out there for years, and he drove me around and pointed out various interesting things to me. So it was pretty cool.
And it's treed, isn't it? So
It is. Oh, beautiful old trees. Yes.
I'm a little worried about what sort of damage they may have gotten in the recent storms.
once you get into the cemetery, you totally forget that you're in the inner city.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a beautiful wall around it. It's really cool place. The other thing that would normally be on our calendar is games night for Smooch. They actually do a game night every Wednesday. We go on the third Wednesday of the month, sort of again, bring a little concentrated mass of Gaians to hang out with them. They're on hiatus for the summer though. So if you are sort of Gaian who wants to do games, want to do games this month, let's talk on social media somewhere and figure out where we could do it that isn't here, because they won't be here. They've taken it off. That's okay. I wasn't able to confirm until today, and I realized they've taken it off their summer months of Smooch's calendar, of the church calendar. So, they might be here and it just happened to run out at the end of May, but a lot of churches go on low energy mode in the summer, so I suspect they're not going to be here, and we can make some other arrangements.
I thought they were just postponing it for Juneteenth.
Right, they have Juneteenth on their calendar, which if it was just that week, I would feel one way, but they've actually got it knocked off for June, July, and August, so maybe they're not going to be here. Okay. With that, then, we will start to wrap up. We are running out of time today. Thank you again to the temples of Brigid, the model space of the Egregore, and the Temple of Isis. If you don't mind, we will wrap you up and finish our work with you as part of taking down the Temple of All Powers. If you have any work you need to do with your temple, of course, obviously, you're welcome to do that as well. But if you would stand as you're able. We take this time now with that Temple of All Powers in mind that we built, that we co-created, that we, by our shared energy, made real here for this time, this place, this space. And we release it back to wherever it resides when we are not aware of it. We release these powers and their devotees, their representatives here, back to whatever business they need to attend to. Bring our awareness back to this room, this place, this space, in the middle of Shawnee Mission Unitarian Universalist, at Gaia Community Unitarian Universalist congregation who meets here. And we thank Isis, Egregore, Brigid, and all of you who attended, and all of you who will attend online by video afterward. You are all an important part of Gaia Community, and we literally could not do this without you. Blessed be. So, if you will form the sacred amoeba, which we're really close to right now. And you can either join hands or not as you feel comfortable. Obviously, we are still having some things going around. One of our members, her father-in-law is right now in the hospital with COVID, has just been put on because his family went to a funeral and many of them were not vaccinated. So please keep Rosemary's father-in-law in mind. He's having problems getting enough oxygen. So obviously, as with everything at Gaia Community, steward yourself. Take the cautions and the energy and the precautions that you need to continue to be able to come here. But call and response, we'll do our closing. This circle is open but unbroken.
This circle is open but unbroken.
May the peace of the goddess go in our hearts.
May the peace of the goddess go in our hearts.
And the dance of the god enliven our days.
And the dance of the gods enliven our days.
And may we care for the earth and each other.
And may we care for the earth and each other.
Because our lives depend on it.
Because our lives depend on it.
All together. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Woo! Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Devin, for not yanking my
And thank you, tall guy.
No, I mean, you didn't.
And thank you, Haley.